Hello and welcome to an episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. And today we're going to be doing my sort of thoughts and initial reactions, basically a very rough review of Godzilla, the Planet Eater, which is the third part in our Godzilla anime trilogy, which is being distributed by Netflix. And, in Japan they got it in cinemas. Where we last left off, obviously spoilers for the whole series, by the way. I'm not going to even bother not spoiling stuff. But where we last left off in Godzilla, the something city on the edge of battle, I think that was. Yeah, city on the edge of battle. Where we left off there, they were almost going to kill Godzilla with this Mecha Godzilla city made of nanometal or something like that. And the Bisaludo, the other one of the alien races, were trying to get everyone to merge with the city in order to defeat Godzilla, and then Haro stopped them because it was kind of fucked up, and they failed. And now the people are scattered. The Bisaludo are angry at Haro and trying to get him punished and all this stuff. So there's like a civil war going on upstairs in the spaceship orbiting Earth. And what's his name? Metphies is going all crazy and trying to summon Ghidorah. That's basically what goes down in this film, but it's yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like I'm not really gonna go over my thoughts too deeply on the other films because what I'm gonna do in a later series, later video that'll come out sometime after this one, is that I'm gonna do rewatch all three of them in one go and kind of give my thoughts about them in total, but this is just my sort of reactions to this particular film. And what I will say is one of the things which I'm sure everybody has been wondering, so big spoiler alert, do Haruo and Metphies make out? Do they consummate their relationship, as it were? Because obviously there was some big tension there if you've been looking at any of the undertones in this film, in all of these films, and sadly not. He does get to fuck some of the Mothra fairies, though, which is, meh. It is what it is. It's kind of funny, really. This film got really dark, really weird, actually. So overall, I'll give my thoughts. I should give my thoughts overall at the end of this video, but let's start from here. Overall, I will say this film has actually been, I'd say, a pretty good film. Like, an improvement of the other ones, because the first one I thought it was like okay, but it really lacked a lot. It just felt like it wasn't really exploring the world enough. The second one started to get interesting, and I was wondering where it was gonna go from there. Same with the first one. I was also the sort of surprise climactic ending didn't make me really interested for the second one. It started to explore the world more, which I really liked. But had some underwhelming stuff in it too. And this one, I feel like it finally wraps things up. It like the pace, stuff actually happens in this one, as opposed to the first one where not really much happened. But in the second one, it started to really get rolling. And this one, it does kick off quite fast. Although granted, I know a lot of people already from reading stuff online. There's a lot of hate going on for this film and the anime series in general, and I can get where they're coming from, because if you're a Godzilla fan going into this film, there's a lot of it where there's no Godzilla going on. He pulls a Shin Godzilla and just kind of sleeps for most of the film, and then there's a lot of other stuff going on at the beginning, and then when he does actually do stuff, it's not much. He just kind of moves like this, and then shoots his laser beam, and so Godzilla in this film is somewhat, I feel underutilized. It's gonna be one of my negatives, and I could have fixed this pretty easily. So that's one of my main negatives. Another thing about this film is that it gets very sort of philosophical, which is actually really interesting. I like the dynamic, because I noticed they've been if you follow the whole series, they kind of build up everything and like have the different races represent sort of different elements of humanity, I guess, or something like that, for lack of a better way of putting it, because they're not humans, so a lot of them are aliens. But the different races have sort of different philosophical ideas. Like, I feel like the humans are sort of the middle ground. Then you have the Bisoludo, which are really into their technology and progressing that way. And then you have the Exif, which are very religious and about. Now we learn that they're about sort of destruction and the end of the universe and almost worshipping that in a way. And that they're very suicidal. Like, there's no, if ever they're very much, if everything's gonna die, then what's the point of, living anyway, and just worship the destruction? Is what I took away from it. Again, I need to rewatch it because it gets really confusing, some of this stuff. And yeah, the humans are the middle ground, and then you have like the very naturey sort of live for the moment. Um, if you die, that means losing. If you make sweet love, it means you win. Kind of mentality you get from the oh, what are they called? I don't remember what they're called, but the Mothra fairy people that are living on Earth, which is a good philosophy. But yeah, so that's so you have these sort of various ideas, and the kind of the resolution of this is the interplay between them, and very quickly the Bisoludo go first, and then it's sort of the humans are sort of meant to be like the blank protagonists, I guess, that are sort of choosing their way between these sort of different ideas, and which is represented by Hyro sort of being coerced into trying to go along with Metphies' plan. And yeah, in this film, Metphies does really go full evil, pretty much. Because before, you didn't know if he was like trustworthy or not. Like, he was always plotting something behind the scenes, but he seemed so nice, and like he seemed really like very like homosexual undertones with Haruo throughout the whole series, but that doesn't really happen. But some other fucked up stuff does happen. Not to say that them being homosexual would be fucked up, but just kind of weird. Seeing as they're all aliens. But moving on, what I will say is that I do like how, like, looking back on the series, it really does seem to flow better now, because if they were sort of one-off episodes, they don't really flow as a feel like a fulfilling narrative. I feel like this is more just one very long movie, all three of them, that you gotta kind of just watch all the way through to get a full narrative, and there would probably be moments of drag, because obviously they have to stretch it out a bit. But yeah, that's something that I'll be talking about in that other video that I was saying. But yeah, with this film, that yeah, there was all that sort of religious stuff and all that metaphysical and like spiritual stuff, and like I really need to watch it again in order to know, like, fully comprehend it, because it was very sort of Evangelion-esque, like about your purpose in the world, and like how to live, and like what ultimately matters if the universe is finite and all of this sort of stuff. And I'm not really sure whether it's kind of like a I'm 12 and this is deep kind of a thing, or if it's actually like well thought through and deep. Um, so that's something that I'm not really sure I can comment on quite yet, but I really did like the incorporation of that in this film. Um, they do play with some of those typical tropes, like having like that mind battle, sort of, or just that psychedelic sort of weird mind thing that Metphies puts Haro through. But going into, oh sorry, I'm out of focus. There we are. Going into some of the darker aspects of this film, there's a point where you for Haro has this vision of Metphies basically murdering and cooking one of the twin fairies and feeding it to him. And then, like, we see that it's a dream, but we don't know if it's like a dream based on reality. And there was like a whole bunch of other stuff happening during the film after that sort of vision. And the whole time I'm sitting there being like, did he actually do that, or is she still alive, or if she's dead, did he cook her or not? Because I need to know. This is just creepy as hell, especially with the visual of like the fairy girl in the boiling pot. But yeah, so my mind was completely preoccupied with that for the next like 10 minutes until they actually reveal that no, he just tied her up and strung her on top of a mountain for some reason. And again, a lot of the plot revolves around Mephi's needing to Haruo to call Ghidorah basically because of his hatred against Godzilla. I'm not entirely sure how that works, so I'm not sure yeah, if they did that well or not, but I guess as a plot device, they did need something, and it does sort of help the themes go together. Oh, sorry if I look very sweaty. It is summer in Australia, and it's not the best. Very hot today. Um, and I can't have a fan on while filming this either. Anyway, so yeah, so that's where that was at. And going back to the monster action, like they actually had Mothra in this film, just like everyone was predicting, because you know Mothra fairies. Well, of course there would be Mothra, and they were also telepathic, which yeah, it turns out that Metphys was telepathic this whole time, and so was you know all the other Exif people. And so were all the Mothra people, or at least the fairies. And yeah, they go to Mothra's egg and use Mothra's power to be able to communicate with Haruo while he's in that battle with Metphys to help him break out of that. And we see a silhouette of Mothra. I don't know why they didn't just show Mothra, because it would have made people happier. Um, it's kind of the same with this beautiful banana here, that they didn't in the actual movie. Again, spoiler alert: Ghidorah was just a flying space noodle. Three flying space noodles. They actually didn't have this form anywhere in the film except for as a silhouette in the weird hallucination that Haruo was going through. So interesting that they didn't show that, because you know my major complaint about this film, and probably like I said, I actually like this film, and I think it was pretty cool, very different interpretation of the Godzilla series, and I love the Easter eggs they put there, and some of the thematic stuff was actually pretty interesting. The metaphysical sort of weird things they did with that, I actually really enjoyed that. Um, and just the whole different stuff they did. But there were things that they could have done better, and a lot of people like, this is a major complaint about any Godzilla film, is if they don't do Godzilla justice in the film, people are automatically gonna hate it, no matter what the rest of the film has to offer. Which is a big thing that happened in Shin Godzilla, where pardon, where Godzilla sleeps for a big portion of the film, and all this other interesting thematic stuff was going on dialogue-wise and politically. But a lot of people dismissed that because, you know, Godzilla wasn't around smashing stuff. And in this film, you know, again, they had this, he pulls a Shin Godzilla and sleeps for most of the film. And even when he isn't, he's not really doing much. He's pretty much just a big gun in this film. And even when he's, you know, trying to physically battle Ghidorah, even when he actually can, he doesn't do all that much. Like, he shoots his laser beam, and it, you know, and that's about it. But even when he's moving so slowly, which I grant, because he's huge, it's kind of cool and what you'd expect. But like, he lacked that sort of impressive power that he had, especially on the reveal of Godzilla Earth in the first film, because he was like really menacing at the end of that. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna get intense. And in the second film, he kind of was a big gun as well. He was just shooting at the city, and then he went all meltdown. And here, he tried to do that, but Ghidorah kind of took him out of this plane of reality for that and absorbed all the heat. It was a bit complicated. Ghidorah was, yeah, I do like the idea, the way they played Ghidorah as just this interdimensional being that destroys the world. That's very Ghidorah-like, and I hope they do something similar in Godzilla King of the Monsters, which is coming out sometime this year. Because I really want Ghidorah to be an alien monster again, because I really love that. And they do call him Monster Zero in a lot of the promo stuff, so there's a good chance he will be, because Monster Zero was back when he was very alien. But moving along from that film, Ghidorah's design, I think was I do actually really like it. But I did wish that they actually went with the full-on Ghidorah form like we got in this figure, because otherwise we got just three incredibly long noodles coming out of black holes in the sky. Three black holes. So that was very, very bizarre. An interesting interpretation, but I wish what would have made this film a lot better, I think, and would have made a lot of fans appreciate this film more, would be if when Haruo finally does smash in Metphies' eyes, basically, because Metphies stuffed an amulet in his eye and was all bloody and shit. It was very, very gory, some parts of this film, which is cool. But, so what I would appreciate with that would have been if, in that moment when Ghidorah kind of became tangible in the physical plane and Godzilla could affect him, if he wasn't made of fairy dust and so easily breakable, where Godzilla barely had to do anything to defeat him, if there was an actual fight there, if Ghidorah came down from the black holes, or Godzilla destroyed those holes somehow, and then Ghidorah came into this form and they actually had a kaiju fight, that would have made the whole film all that much better, because then it would have actually given Godzilla a moment, and we would have gotten a proper kaiju fight, and we could have seen King Ghidorah in his full form. But without that, it's gonna polarize a lot of fans, and just be kind of strange that the only figure that we're getting of that Ghidorah in vinyl form is gonna be this form, which was not really all that showcased in the movie. And we don't even know if any of this other stuff that's on this figure is really accurate, because all we really got was a silhouette. But that said, the actual design of the heads and the sort of effect of these three weird worm-like dragons was really cool, and I did like seeing that scene where he first appears in space and destroys their whole spaceship, which then inevitably does mean that all the humans have to now live on the Earth. And yeah, and so the ending was basically them sort of joining the people on the Earth and now living there. And what I found really funny was they didn't take off their spacesuits for so long. Like, they have these really cumbersome, weird things that are around their neck and all that, and they didn't think to remove those sooner, because in the little sort of 2D slideshow that they showed, the progression of time that they were integrating into the society, they were wearing those for a long time before they actually changed to the just normal clothing, which I found pretty funny, because I don't know. But let's talk about the ending of this one. So because Metphies sort of basically the thematic thing was that all civilizations are destined to die, and everything is sort of destined to collapse and die, and the civilizations getting bigger and more prosperous leads to the birth of monsters, and if there's another monster or something, King Ghidorah will come back, or something like that. But basically, he's implying that if Haruo lets the world then progress, then it's inevitable that King Ghidorah will return, something like that. And so, because the science guy is able to bring back the little vulture machine, and because of the nanometal from, I think, is it Yuki or Yuko, the one who's paralyzed. Oh, and another thing is, I find it really surprising that they didn't actually bring her back, because I thought, okay, she's if she's not dead, then they're gonna bring her back, because that seems like the obvious trope. But they didn't, so I did like that actually. That was a bit of a twist of expectations. But yeah, so the basic ending was Haro, in order to to stop society progressing back to civilization, and getting rid of technology, he decides to take him and Yuko, I forgot what her name is, the nanometal paralyzed woman, and take her in the vulture thing and crash in and go attack Godzilla, which is, completely a suicide mission. And so he, and so yeah, that's how the film ends basically. Which is a very interesting way of looking at it. So basically, Haruo loses. Is how the film ends to Godzilla. Um, and thematically it kind of works, but I still felt like there were probably ways of getting around this. So I don't even know what to think about it really. But overall, I will say that I did enjoy the movie, and I think it was as the films went on, they did get better. They did do things that would definitely piss off fans, and a lot of people will be feeling kind of controversial about. And there were some dark parts in this film which were really weird. And Haruo initially missed out on his chance to get with a fairy, which was kind of a weird scene. um, and I'm just gonna leave you with memories of that scene and say I do recommend seeing this film. I think there would be some unnecessary hate towards the series, though there were obvious things that they could have improved on. And I'll talk more about it after I watch it again and do the full review of the whole series. And with that, may all your vinyl be irradiated vinyl. Over and out.